I always thought heartbreak would feel like an explosion. Loud, violent, obvious. Turns out, it can arrive in 4K resolution on a 5-inch screen. It was a Tuesday night, almost midnight, when my marriage ended in my hands, literally. I was sitting alone at the kitchen table, the cheap overhead light humming above me, scrolling through my phone just to feel less alone in my own house. Madison had texted, "Running late, don't wait up kiss mark," 3 hours earlier. She was with the girls. Again, my thumb slipped, and instead of checking my own notifications, I opened her iCloud folder. We'd synced our devices years ago when we still trusted each other with passwords and futures. I wasn't even snooping. I was bored. Then I saw it. A fresh photo. Timestamp. 10:14 p.m. I tapped it. There she was. Madison, my wife, in a white dress that I'd never seen before, hugging her curves like it had been poured onto her. Wind in her hair. The city skyline glowing behind her. She was on a yacht, one of those sleek, predatory things that looks like it eats smaller boats for breakfast. In her hand, a tall crystal flute filled with something red, too dark for regular wine, glowing like liquid rubies under soft lights. Red champagne, if that's even a real thing, but that's what it looked like. And next to her, some guy, taller than me, tanned, perfect teeth, the kind of jawline you only see in cologne ads. One hand around her waist like he owned the patent on her body. His other hand holding a matching glass, raised toward the camera in a lazy toast. Her eyes weren't dead, like they were with me lately. She looked alive, lit from the inside. I don't remember breathing for a full minute. I zoomed in, like maybe the pixels would tell me I was wrong. Her lipstick, deep red, exactly the same shade as the drink. Her hand resting on his chest, fingers slightly curled, intimate in a way you don't fake for a friendly picture. My first thought wasn't even she's cheating. It was, when did she have time to buy that dress? That's what your brain does when your life starts cracking. It hides from the big truth and grabs the dumb details instead. My heart started racing so hard I could hear it in my ears. I checked the info icon. Location tag, Marina Pier 17. So while I was here in this kitchen, eating leftover pasta, she was sailing somewhere under city lights with Mr. Perfect jawline and red bubbles in her hand. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't even stand up. I just hit call. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, babe," she said, slightly breathless. There was noise behind her, music, laughter, the echo of clinking glasses. "What's up?" "I told you I'm with the girls." "You okay?" For a second, I almost played along. Asked if she'd had fun. Pretended I hadn't just watched my vows sink into the harbor. Instead, my voice came out calm. Too calm. "I found your photo." There was a tiny pause. Then her fake confusion. "What photo?" "The one on the yacht," I said, "with the red champagne. And the guy with the perfect dentist." Another pause. Longer this time. The background noise seemed to fade. Then she laughed. Not nervous. Not guilty. Amused. "Wow, Ethan," she said. "Going through my stuff now? That's new. Who is he?" I asked. My hand was shaking so hard I had to switch the phone to my other ear. "And don't tell me a friend, Madison. Don't do that to me." There was shuffling, like she'd stepped away from people. The music dimmed. A door closed. When she spoke again, her voice was low and sharp, like a knife whispered into the dark. "You're spiraling over a picture?" she said. "You know how pathetic that sounds?" Pathetic. That word hit harder than the photo. "Answer the question," I said. "Who is he?" She actually sighed like I was a kid throwing a tantrum in a grocery store. "You always do this," she said. "You build these little dramas in your head. It's exhausting, Ethan." "I am exhausted." "You're on a yacht, Maddie," I said, my voice rising. "With some guy I've never seen, dressed like you're auditioning to be his trophy. You told me you were with the girls. That's not a drama. That's a lie." Silence. I could picture her face so clearly. The slight tilt of her head when she felt superior, the way her lips curled when she was choosing between two insults. Then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed softly, almost fondly, and said, "You know what? No, I'm not doing this with you over the phone. Maddie, I found her photo on a yacht with red champagne and another man." When I asked, she smiled. "You're not ready for the truth." If this were someone else's story, that would be the title. That moment, That exact second when my life split into before and after. Because that's what she did. She didn't deny it. She didn't apologize. She didn't cry or pretend to be hurt that I didn't trust her. She just smiled. I could hear through the phone that cruel little upward curve in her voice. "You're not ready for the truth, Ethan," she said. "Trust me." And then she hung up. Just like that. No explanation. No excuse. No, "We'll talk when I get home." Click. I stared at the dead screen, waiting for it to light up again. For her to text, "Calm down, it was a joke," or "He's my boss, relax," or even "Fine, let's talk." Nothing. Only my reflection in the dark glass. Eyes wide, mouth half open, looking like some stranger who just watched a car crash in slow motion. Somewhere in the city, my wife was on a yacht with red champagne and another man. And here, in our quiet kitchen, I realized something terrifying. It wasn't just that she'd lied. It was that she enjoyed watching me drown in it. That was the moment I knew this wasn't a mistake or a one-time slip or something we'd fix with counseling and quotes from Instagram. This was war, and I had no idea yet how deep the battlefield went. People always ask, "Didn't you see the signs?" Yeah, I saw them. I just kept calling them stress and work, and maybe I'm being paranoid. Looking back, it didn't start with the yacht. The yacht was just the trailer for a movie that had been filming behind my back for months. It started small. Madison used to text me nonstop. Stupid memes, screenshots, "Look at this dress, guess what Jessica said," that kind of thing. Then one day, the messages just thinned out. She went from spamming me to answering with dry little K and "busy, talk later." Later rarely came. She started guarding her phone like it was a bomb trigger. The girl who once tossed her phone face up on the couch now carried it everywhere: bathroom, shower, trash run. The screen was always turned away from me. Notifications went from full previews to message. No names, no content, just message. I'd ask, "Everything okay?" She'd roll her eyes. "Not everything is about you, Ethan. I have a life." Then there were the outfits. Madison always liked to look good, but this was different. She started dressing like every room was an audition. New heels appeared. New dresses, tight and sharp, like they'd cut you if you stared too long. Her makeup went from casual to flawless. Not for me. Not for us. For girls' nights. Since would do brunches need stilettos? I'd joke. She'd give me that look. The one that says you're embarrassing yourself. Since forever. Maybe if you left the house for something other than work and the couch, you'd know, Ethan. Little cuts. Drip, drip, drip. Then came the late nights. At first, it was once a week. "We're doing a spa night. We're trying this new rooftop bar. We're having a movie marathon." I'd stay home, heat up leftovers, and pretend that was what supportive husbands do. Then it became 3 nights a week. Then 4. Whenever I'd ask who she was with, it was always the same rotation of names. Jessica, Hannah, the girls. No photos. No tags. No stories. Nothing you could point at and say, "There, that's real." One night, I remember asking, "Can I come with you sometime?" She didn't even hesitate. "No." I laughed, thinking she was joking. "Wow, harsh." She shrugged, scrolling through her phone. "You'd kill the vibe." "Kill the vibe how?" "By being you." She said it so casually, like she was saying, "We're out of milk." No apology. No softening. Just dropped it and moved on. That was the first time my stomach dropped for no clear reason. The second time was worse. I gotten home early and was in the hallway when she came in. She didn't see me at first. Her hair was messy in that perfectly ruined way. Her lipstick smudged at the edges. She was smiling at her phone. One of those private, dangerous smiles you never want to see directed at anything that isn't you. "Good night," I asked. She jumped like she'd been caught stealing. "Oh my God, Ethan, you scared me." She stuffed her phone into her bag, too fast. "Why are you just standing there like a creep?" "I live here," I said. "Remember?" She rolled her eyes and brushed past me. I caught a smell I didn't recognize. Expensive cologne. Not mine. "You smell like a guy," I said before I could stop myself. She froze for half a breath, then spun around with a smile, so fake it could have come with a barcode. "Relax." The bar was packed. People were all over the place. "God, you're jealous of air now." I wanted to believe her. So I did. That's the stupid part about love. You keep walking past fire alarms because you don't want to evacuate the building. But the universe has a way of shoving your face into the truth when you've ignored it long enough. 2 days before the yacht photo, I was doing her laundry because she'd had a long week, and could I just help for once? Her blazer was inside out. In the inner pocket, I found a folded receipt. Marina Pierre 17. 2 specialty cocktails. 1 appetizer. 1 dessert. Late night timestamp. Her card. Not girls' night. Not a club. A Marina Bar. I remember standing there, staring at that little slip of paper like it was a confession. My heart was pounding, but my brain was already doing damage control. Maybe she met a client there. Maybe the girls wanted something different. Maybe, why are you touching my stuff? Her voice snapped from the doorway. I turned around, the receipt still in my hand. She didn't look scared. She looked annoyed, like I'd borrowed her hairbrush without asking. What's this? I asked. She glanced at it once and shrugged. A receipt. Congratulations, Sherlock. At a marina. At midnight. So, her tone sharpened. We wanted a view. Am I on parole now? Do I need to ask permission to order dessert? There was again. Not guilt. Not apology. Contempt. I dropped it. I let it go. I folded the receipt and tossed in the trash because I was still trying to protect something that was already on life support. 2 days later, I saw the yacht photo. And suddenly, every late night, every smudged lipstick, every you're overreacting lined up in my head like dominoes. People ask if I saw the signs. Yeah, I saw them. I just didn't realize until that moment that she'd been the one setting them on fire, smiling while I stood in the smoke. There's a version of me I used to believe I was the calm man, the reasonable man, the man who doesn't shout or make scenes. That man died the second Madison walked through the door at 1:37 a.m., wearing sunglasses at night, like she was dodging paparazzi instead of her husband. I was sitting on the couch, the yacht photo open on my phone like evidence in a murder trial. My hands were cold, my heart hot. I wasn't sure which part of me was going to speak first, rage or heartbreak. The door clicked shut behind her. She didn't even flinch when she saw me awake. No guilt, no surprise, just annoyance, like I was a lamp she forgot to switch off. Why are you up? She asked, tossing her keys onto the table. Her tone wasn't curious. It was accusatory, as if my consciousness was an inconvenience. I didn't say a word. I just turned the phone so she could see the image glowing on the screen. She froze for a moment. Not because she was caught. No, Madison didn't freeze like prey. She paused the way predators analyze whether the creature in front of them is edible. Then she smirked. Not smiled. Smirked. The kind of expression that turns your blood into smoke. So you saw it, she said slowly, like she was pleased I'd finally joined her private joke. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Who is he? She rolled her eyes and walked past me, heading toward the kitchen like we were arguing about dirty dishes instead of the corpse of our marriage. You're obsessed, Ethan, she called out. It's pathetic. Tell me who he is, I repeated, standing now. She opened the fridge, pulled out a water bottle, twisted the cap with a casual click. Not a tremor in her hand. Not a trace of shame. It doesn't matter, she said, taking a sip. Nothing matters the way you think it does. Doesn't matter? My voice cracked, the words scraping my throat. You're on a yacht with some guy, drinking. What even is that? Blood champagne. She laughed. Actually laughed. It's red champagne. It's a thing. You know that if you didn't still dress like the clearance rack at Target. There. The switchblade. Every time she insulted me, something in her face lit up. Not passion. Power. What happened to us? I asked quieter now. Not because I was weak, but because something inside me was cracking open, letting reality spill out. She leaned against the counter, crossed her arms, tilted her head, her signature posture of disdain. You happened, she replied. You got boring. Predictable. Safe. Safe. I whispered, stunned. Isn't that what marriage is supposed to be? Maybe for losers. She said it without a blink. I stepped closer, feeling the ache pulse through my ribs. Do you love him? She smiled, slow, venomous. Love is such a small word for what he makes me feel. My knees buckled inside, but I stayed upright. Barely. You told me you were with the girls, I said, forcing the words out. You looked me in the eye and lied. She shrugged. I didn't lie. I omitted. That is literally the definition of a lie. She waved her hand dismissively. Details. You're always so obsessed with details, Ethan. That's why you'll never understand. I clenched my fists, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I finally understood she had been hurting me for months and enjoying every second. You could have talked to me, I said. We could have worked on things. She scoffed. Worked? Why would I work when someone else already gives me everything I want? Do you even hear yourself? My voice cracked. So that's it? You replace me, and what? I'm supposed to applaud. She took another sip of water, her gaze icy. You're not part of my story anymore, Ethan. You're the chapter one outgrew. That sentence didn't stab, it detonated. I took a step back, dizzy with disbelief. You're married to me, I said, as if words could drag her back into reality. No, she corrected, pushing off the counter and walking toward the stairs. I was married to the idea of you. Then I met someone who actually lives. She said it like she was explaining weather. I grabbed her wrist. Not hard, just enough to stop her. Enough to ask without words. Why? She stared at my hand, then at me, with a calm, chilling finality. Let go, Ethan, she said softly. You're not ready for the truth. That line again. The line that infected my brain like a virus. I let go. She walked upstairs without looking back, humming a tune I didn't recognize. Something upbeat. Something happy. She was happy. And I stood there, surrounded by everything we built together, realizing none of it ever belonged to me. The truth wasn't that she cheated. The truth was worse. Madison didn't lose love. She outgrew me and enjoyed watching me notice too late. The night after the confrontation didn't end. It stretched. It warped. It became something inhuman. Sleep wasn't possible. Not when every word she'd thrown at me replayed like a cursed song. You're not part of my story anymore. I outgrew you. You're not ready for the truth. Those lines didn't just echo. They crawled under my skin, rewiring my self-worth. I wasn't dealing with betrayal anymore. I was dealing with erasure. Madison hadn't cheated like someone who made a mistake. She'd cheated like someone who believed she deserved more, and that I was somehow less. That's the part nobody warns men about. It's not losing the woman. It's losing the version of yourself you became for her. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. She came downstairs in leggings and a messy bun, humming, scrolling her phone. Same routine, new universe. She didn't look like a woman caught in an affair. She looked like a woman who had finally decided reality was optional. Morning, she said, opening the fridge. Not apologetic, not awkward, just casual, mundane, like the night before had been my hallucination. I stared at her, my coffee mug trembling in my hands. We're going to talk about last night. She closed the fridge and leaned on the counter, sipping orange juice as though I were interrupting her yoga retreat. There's nothing to talk about, she said. You overreacted. Again. That word. As if my pain were a hobby. You told me you were with the girls, I said quietly. She shrugged. I was. Then plans changed. And you didn't think that mattered? To you? No. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Every syllable was dipped in acid. I tried, God help me, I try to keep calm. If you don't love me anymore, just say it. Don't make me dig for clues like I'm solving a case. She paused mid-sip. Her lips curled. I don't know you closure, Ethan. My heart didn't crack. It collapsed. Closure isn't something you ask for. It's something people with dignity deserve. Madison didn't think I had any. I walked to the table and sat down, forcing myself to breathe. My voice shook, but I didn't care. Who is he? She tilted her head like she was examining a stain. Someone who understands me. That's not an answer. It's the only one you get. That's when something inside me changed. The shock didn't disappear, it calcified. It stopped being a feeling and became a fact. Madison wasn't confused or lost or acting out. She was gone. And the person wearing her face enjoyed watching me try to hold onto a ghost. You don't even feel guilty, I whispered. Guilty. She laughed, a short, sharp sound. For wanting more than a life of routines and leftovers. You never saw me, Ethan. He does. I repeated. You won't even say his name? He earned it. You didn't. My mug slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. Ceramic shards everywhere. Madison didn't flinch. She just stepped over the pieces like my breakdown was clutter in her path. You can't just replace me, I said. She turned at the doorway, gave me a smile that belonged in a horror film. Not wide, not manic, just satisfied. I didn't replace you, she said. I upgraded. Then she left. Not physically, she went upstairs, but emotionally, she'd been gone for months. The silence afterward wasn't empty. It was full of everything I ignored, everything I let slide, everything that now made horrific sense. Her phone turned face down, her perfume changing, her sudden workouts, her smiles that didn't include me, her body next to mine, but her soul somewhere else. And here was the truth I hadn't been ready for. Madison didn't cheat because she was unhappy. She cheated because she wanted to be adored. And I was no longer enough for someone who needed worship more than love. That realization didn't break me. It transformed me. There's a moment in every man's life when he understands the difference between losing someone and being freed from them. It doesn't happen with fireworks. It happens in silence, when your heart stops begging and starts seeing. Madison didn't destroy our marriage. She revealed it was dead long before I noticed the body. And the scariest part? She knew. She'd been waiting for me to find the corpse. Part 5 wasn't written yet, but it was already humming in the walls. If she believed I wasn't ready for the truth, then I was going to find it and drag it into the light, piece by poisonous piece. If she wasn't going to hand me the truth, I was going to dig it out of the grave she buried it in. I didn't decide that like some cinematic hero. It happened in the quiet, in the days after the yacht photo, when Madison floated around the house like I was a roommate whose lease was about to expire. She'd hum while doing her makeup. She'd smirk at texts I never saw. She'd leave in outfits that looked like invitations. Every time the door closed behind her, it felt less like my wife going out and more like someone walking out a life she'd already written me out of. She thought I'd sulk, crumble, accept it. Instead, I started paying attention. It began with the small things. She said she was at yoga. I checked the class schedule on the studio's website. No evening classes that day. She claimed she was at girls' dinner. I heard no background chatter on her quick, annoyed check-in call, just the low thump of club music and the muffled sound of waves. Waves. I remembered the location tag from the photo, Marina Pier 17. I wasn't ready for the truth. Fine. I'd walk straight into it. The first person I talked to was Ryan, my best friend since college. He'd been watching me fall apart over the past week, pretending not to notice how jumpy I was. We met at a small bar near my office, the kind with sticky tables and cheap beer that never asked questions. You look like you haven't slept in days, he said, sliding into the booth. I haven't, I replied. Madison's seeing someone. He didn't say, are you sure? Good friends don't insult your intelligence like that. He just waited. I showed him the yacht photo. He stared at it for a while, jaw tightening. Damn, he muttered. She didn't even try to hide it. I think she wanted me to see it, I said. She likes watching me guess. We went quiet for a moment, the weight of it all pressing down. You want my honest opinion? He asked. Please don't sugarcoat anything. He exhaled. She's been done for a long time, man. This guy, he's just the upgrade she's been shopping for. I flinched. It was brutal, but it was true. Who is he? I asked. She won't tell me. Won't even say his name. Ryan looked closer at the photo, squinting. Zoom in on his wrist. I did. A watch. Not just any watch. Heavy, distinctive, with a black face and a thick silver band that caught the light. I've seen that model, Ryan said slowly. That's not some random guy. That thing costs more than your car. Helpful, I muttered. He snapped his fingers. Wait, didn't Madison's company recently start working with some investor? Big deal, rich guy, something like that. My stomach clenched. I remembered one of her early late nights when she'd tossed off a comment about important people and needing to impress investors. You're saying this is someone from her work? I asked. I'm saying, Ryan replied, that the yacht, the watch, the red champagne, that's not bartender money. The pieces started shifting into place in my head, rearranging into something uglier. This wasn't just a random fling. This was strategic, calculated. A ladder she was climbing, one red bubble at a time. That night, when Madison said she had a networking dinner, I didn't argue. I didn't whine. I just nodded almost politely. Have fun, I said. She eyed me suspiciously, like she didn't trust the new calm. Don't wait up. I won't. She left in a black dress I'd never seen before, slit high, perfume sharp as a threat. 10 minutes after the sound of her Uber faded, I grabbed my jacket and followed. Not like a movie stalker. I didn't tail her car or hack anything. I just went where the lies kept pointing. Marina Pier 17. The place looked different when you actually stood there. The air smelled like salt, money, and quiet secrets. Expensive boats rocked gently against the docks, each one lit up like a promise. I kept my distance, blending into the shadows near the entrance to the private docks. I didn't know what I was expecting, maybe nothing, maybe everything. Then I saw her, Madison, stepping out of a black car, laughing at something the driver said, not bothering to fake any sadness. Her heels clicked confidently against the boards as she walked toward the same yacht from the photo. And then he appeared at the top of the ramp. The man, tall, tailored suit, that same watch catching the dock lights. He held out his hand, and she slipped hers into it like she'd rehearsed it 100 times. She wasn't nervous. She was radiant. He leaned down and said something into her ear. She threw her head back and laughed, a laugh I hadn't heard in months. It hit me then, not as a gentle realization, but as a brutal certainty. This wasn't an affair tucked into the shadows. This was her new life, and I was the one standing outside the frame, finally seeing what she'd meant all along when she told me. You're not ready for the truth. She was right about one thing. I hadn't been, until that moment. The thing about seeing your wife with another man in real life, not just on a screen, is that it changes the way time moves. Out there on the dock, watching Madison step onto that yacht, everything slowed down. Her hair catching the wind, her hand in his, the way he pulled her close, possessive and easy, like he'd done it 100 times. The crew greeting them by name. They knew her, not as someone's wife, as his guest. I didn't make a sound. I didn't rush down the ramp, didn't scream, didn't demand answers. I just stood there, invisible in the dark, watching my marriage board a boat without me. When the yacht finally pulled away, the wake slapped against the dock, spraying my shoes. Cold, salty water soaked through my sneakers. It felt strangely appropriate. I went home on autopilot. The house felt different now. Not like a home, but like a crime scene. Everywhere I looked, there were fingerprints of the woman she used to pretend to be. Framed photos, shared blankets. The mug she claimed was hers only. The shelf of candles she never lit for us, but probably burned for him. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the photo again. Madison on the yacht. Red champagne. Another man. Then I opened a new folder on my laptop and titled it what I should have called this whole stupid season of my life. Proof. I dragged the yacht photo into it. Then the marina receipt I dug out of the trash. Screenshots of her yoga nights that didn't match the studio schedule. Her text, with a girl's kiss mark, sent at the exact time I'd watched her step onto that boat with Mr. Red Champagne. I wasn't doing it to win her back. That part of me was gone. I was doing it because she'd turned our reality into a stage play and handed me the role of the clueless husband. I wasn't going to be clueless anymore. Around 2:40 a.m., I heard the door. She came in softly, heels in hand, hair a mess, lipstick perfectly reapplied. She smelled like expensive cologne and ocean air. She didn't look surprised to see me awake. Of course she didn't. Wow, she said, dropping her heels by the door. You really need a hobby, Ethan. Already got one, I said. It's called waking up. She raised a brow. That's supposed to be deep? Where were you? I asked, even though I already knew. I wanted to see what lie she'd pick. Networking, she said without blinking. We closed a big deal. There were investors, clients, you wouldn't get it. On a yacht. She tilted her head. Sometimes business happens where the money floats. With Red Champagne, it's called celebrating. With the same man you've been hiding from me for months? I pressed. The one who understands you, right? She smiled slowly. Look at you. Connecting dots. Proud of you. You were at Marina Pier 17, I said. I saw you, Maddie. I watched you get on his boat. For the first time, something flickered in her eyes. Not guilt. Calculation. So you follow me now? She asked. Creepy. You've been lying to my face. I shot back. I'm allowed to verify whether my life is a joke. She walked over to the table, glanced at the laptop screen, at the folder labeled proof. She snorted. You're building a case? She said. What are you going to do? Ethan, sue me for breaking your heart. I'm going to stop letting you rewrite reality, I replied. I'm done being the idiot in your story. She leaned down, putting her hands flat on the table, her face inches from mine. You think you're the hero here? She whispered. You're a footnote. You're the soft launch before the real thing. The real thing, I repeated, incredulous. You mean the guy flashing his watch while pouring you ruby bubbles? Her eyes darkened. He sees me, she said. He treats me like I'm rare. You treat me like furniture that remembers your Wi-Fi password. That's not true, I said, my voice cracking despite myself. Isn't it? She snapped. When was the last time you really looked at me? When was the last time you made me feel alive? Not comfortable, not safe, alive. I wanted to argue, to list the birthdays I planned, the late-night drives, the times I held her when she cried over work. But I realized something as I opened my mouth. None of that mattered to her, because she wasn't looking for love. She was chasing a high. You cheated, I said instead, while wearing my ring, while sleeping in my bed, while telling me you just needed time. She straightened up, flipping her hair over her shoulder like we were arguing about paint colors. Cheated, she said. Such a small, dramatic word. I just stopped pretending you were enough. That was it. The breaking point. Not the photo. Not the yacht. Not even the other man. It was that sentence. Like my entire existence had been a trial run. Something in me hardened. The grief didn't disappear, but stepped aside, making room for something sharper. Clarity. I'm done, I said quietly. She laughed. You've been done for years and didn't notice. I shook my head. No, I'm done playing your game. Her smirk faltered, just a little. I'm with a lawyer, I added. Tomorrow. You want a new life? You can have it. But you won't drag me like dead weight behind your yacht. For the first time since this all started, Madison didn't have a quick, cruel comeback. She just stared at me, not like I was beneath her, like I'd finally become unpredictable. And that terrified her more than losing my love ever would. I always thought walking into a lawyer's office would feel like admitting defeat. Turns out, it felt like the first honest breath I'd taken in months. The morning after I told Madison I was done playing her game, she acted like I'd threatened to cancel Netflix, not end our marriage. She got dressed for work as usual, scrolling through her phone, humming, lips curled in that same smug, almost smile. You really go to a lawyer? She asked, slipping in her earrings. Yes, I said. She smirked at the mirror. Cute. Now are you sure? Not going to talk first? Just cute. She left at 8:12 a.m. I was at the lawyer's by 9. His name was Daniel Brooks. Gray at the temples, calm eyes that looked like they'd seen every human disaster twice. His office smelled like paper and quiet tension. Diplomas lined the walls. No fake motivational quotes. I liked him immediately. What brings you in today? He asked, even though I'm sure he already knew from my email. My wife is cheating on me, I said. The words came out flatter than I expected, like I was reading a grocery list. And she's not hiding it anymore. He nodded, not shocked, not bored. Just steady. Do you have proof? I opened my laptop and slid it toward him. The folder named Proof stared back at us. He clicked through. The yacht photo. The marina receipt. Screenshots of her fake girls' nights. Text messages where she gaslit me into questioning my sanity. He adjusted his glasses. She knows you know? Oh, she more than knows, I said. She's proud of it. He leaned back. Are there any kids? I shook my head. No, just a mortgage and a history. That makes things simpler, he replied. Not easier, but simpler. He asked me questions about our finances, our house, her job. With every detail I gave him, I felt something shift inside me. For months, the power balance had been tilted. She had the secrets. She had the new life. She had the upper hand. Now I had something too. Information. Ethan, Daniel said at one point, folding his hands, I'm going to say something that might hurt, but you need to hear it. Go ahead. Your wife isn't confused, he said. She's strategic. From what I see, she's already emotionally gone. You're not fighting for the marriage anymore. You're fighting for yourself. I swallowed. It was harsh, but it landed cleanly. No splinters. Just truth. So what do? I asked. We file, he said. We get documentation of the affair. We protect your assets. and we set boundaries. You stop reacting to her, and you start acting for you. Will she try to take everything? I asked. His lips twitched into a small, humorless smile. From the type of person you're describing? Absolutely. So we make sure she doesn't. He drafted the initial paperwork while I sat there, staring at the pen he'd placed in front of me. One signature. That's all it was. Ink on paper. But my hand shook. This was it. The moment I stopped being someone's husband and started being something else. I didn't even know what yet. Ethan, he said gently, she already left. You're just giving it a name. That did it. I signed. When I got home that evening, the house felt like it had shifted a few inches to the left, like I'd come back to a copy of my life instead of the original. Madison was on the couch, feet up, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up when I came in. Hey, she said lazily, did you have fun playing victim with your lawyer? I wasn't playing, I said, setting the folder on the table. We're filing. That got her attention. She sat up slowly, eyes narrowing. You actually did it? Yes. She stared at me for a long moment, like she was trying to find the old version of me in my face and not quite recognizing the man standing there. Then she laughed, not amused, not joyful, cold. You really think anyone's going to feel sorry for you? She asked. You think a judge is going to cry because your wife realized she could do better? I don't need anyone to feel sorry for me, I said. I just need them to see what you've been doing. Oh, please. She stood, arms crossed. You're going to drag my name through court because your ego got bruised. My ego, I repeated, incredulous. You lied to my face. You used me as cover while you build a new life behind my back. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. And you let me, she whispered. You never questioned anything. You never challenged me. You just sat there and trusted. That's not noble, Ethan. That's weak. I felt the words hit, but they didn't sink this time. That's where you're wrong, I said quietly. Trust isn't weak. Betrayal is. You just got really good at it. For the first time, I saw a crack in her expression. Not regret. No, that would be too human. But irritation. Like I'd gone off script. You think this makes you stronger? She hissed. Running to lawyers, collecting screenshots? No, I said. What makes me stronger is finally accepting who you really are and choosing myself anyway. She stared at me, jaw clenched, eyes icy. Then she grabbed her bag. Fine, she said. You want to play hardball? Let's play. But don't forget, Ethan. She leaned in, voice soft and poisonous. You are never ready for the truth. And when I'm done, you'll wish you'd stay blind. The door slammed behind her. I stood in the echo, heart pounding, hands still shaking. But for the first time since this nightmare started, the fear wasn't the loudest thing in the room. For the first time, something else was growing louder. A quiet, burning certainty that whatever came next, I wouldn't face it as the broken version of myself she'd try to leave behind. Divorce isn't a day. It's a slow demolition. The court dates, the documents, the signatures, those are just the official fireworks. The real work happens in all the small, stupid moments in between when you're standing in the kitchen staring at a coffee mug and realizing it still smells like the life you used to have. Madison didn't go down quietly. Of course she didn't. She tried everything. Fake tears in front of her lawyer, half-truths about emotional neglect, dramatic speeches about how she felt trapped. She painted herself as the misunderstood free spirit and me as the boring anchor that dragged her dreams to the bottom. But there was one thing she didn't account for. Reality leaves a trail. My lawyer had timestamps, photos, receipts, messages, dates where she claimed to be with the girls while she was actually at the marina, on that same yacht with that same man, toasting with that same glass of red champagne, as if my heart wasn't attached to her finger. I'll never forget the look on her face the first time her own messages were read out loud in that sterile courtroom. Not because she felt ashamed. She didn't. Madison had long since traded shame for entitlement. No, what shook her was that her private game wasn't private anymore. Her smirks didn't land the same when they echoed off courtroom walls. Her favorite line, "You're not ready for the truth," sounded less like power and more like cruelty when written in black ink under Exhibit C. The judge didn't care about Yacht champagne or the price of his watch, but he cared about patterns. He cared about the consistency of her lies. He cared about the way she played with reality like it was a toy and expected everyone else to applaud. We didn't walk out of there as enemies in a melodrama. We walked out as strangers with paperwork. She got what she'd been chasing: freedom, a chance to run toward her new life without having to pretend anymore. He was outside waiting for her one of those days, leaning against that flawless car, the same watch on his wrist, the same arrogance in his posture. She walked straight to him, didn't look back. Not once. You'd think that moment would have shattered me, seeing the woman I married walking toward the man she'd chosen over me. But something unexpected happened instead. I felt relief. Not because I was happy for her. I wasn't. And not because I'd magically stopped hurting. I hadn't. But because for the first time since I'd found that yacht photo, my pain wasn't being denied anymore. It was named, signed, stamped, real. I went home alone to an apartment that held only half the furniture and almost none of the old air. The house had been sold. The account split. The last of her things were gone. A few empty hooks where her coats used to hang, an outline on the wall where a picture frame had blocked the sun, a faint ghost of her perfume in the closet. And then there was me, standing in the middle of all that emptiness, waiting for the collapse that never came. Instead, something else happened. I breathed, really breathed. No second guessing. No listening for her key in the door. No wondering if her late-night texts were to me or him. The silence, which had once felt suffocating, now felt like a blank page. The pain didn't vanish. It moved from something that owned me to something I carried. Some nights it still comes back hard and fast. The image of her on that yacht, red champagne in hand, another man's fingers pressed in her waist, her smile saying, "You were never enough." And then I remember something the judge said on the final day, almost as an aside, when the paperwork was done and we stood there in front of him like two exhausted ghosts. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "the truth is not given to you. It's revealed about someone. Your job isn't to fix it. It's to respond to it." At the time, it sounded like a line he'd said 1,000 times. Now it feels like the clearest thing I've ever heard. So here's what I've learned, in case you ever find yourself where I stood. If you find that photo, if you see that message, if you feel your gut screaming while your mind begs for one more excuse, listen to your gut. You're not crazy for noticing. You're not weak for trusting. You're not less of a man because somebody else chose betrayal over honesty. That doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. Walk toward the truth anyway, even if it hurts, even if it shatters everything you built. Because staying in a lie doesn't save the relationship. It just kills you slowly. Madison once smiled and told me, "You're not ready for the truth." She was wrong. I was. I just didn't know that the truth I'd end up facing wasn't about her at all. It was about me. About how much I could survive. About how much I could lose and still stand up. About how sometimes the most painful ending of your life is also the first honest beginning.